October 15th will be a very interesting night as Tim Tszyu will defend his WBO Super Welterweight World Championship, which was handed to him because Jermell Charlo was fighting Canelo Alvarez, against the WBC Interim champion Brian Mendoza. And why is it interesting? Because the winner of the fight will not only be the WBO champion, but I would assume it was confirmed, the WBC mandatory for Jermell Charlo. So that is very good. But of course, Tim Tszyu, coming off of his first round knockout victory over Carlos Ocampo, is 23-0 with 17 knockouts. Very nice. 74 basically percent knockout ratio, and he is facing Brian Mendoza, who's 22-2 with 16 knockouts. And we're going to talk about Brian Mendoza first. He is coming off of a 3-fight win streak, and not only a 3-fight win streak, a 2-fight upset streak after his loss to Jesus Ramos Jr., unanimous decision, which is actually one fight after his loss to Larry Gomez, split decision. So, very interesting. And of course, who did he upset? He upsetted the former unified Super Welterweight World Champion Jason Rosario in round number 5, and he knocked out the towering inferno, the undefeated Sebastian Fundora in the 7th round. That's right, he knocked out 2 great fighters back to back. Although Jason Rosario is not seen too good on BoxRec, Sebastian Fundora was a 5-star ranking, so that's very nice for him. And of course, he beat Rosario via uppercut. But then again, a lot of people say Rosario did not have the best chin because out of his 4 losses, he lost all 4 of them via knockout. And the people he lost to was Erickson Lubin, Jermell Charlo, and Nathaniel Gallimore, which his first loss was in 2017, so, whatever. And, of course, most recently against Brian Mendoza. And, of course, Sebastian Fundora was undefeated up until he met Brian Mendoza. He knocked him out after, obviously, a very fatal flaw in Fundora's plan, and that is he had his hands down most of the time. And he was too close for his own comfort. He got knocked out. And, of course, Tim Tszyu, he's undefeated himself, coming off of 3 great wins. Actually, he's coming off a lot of great wins. But his most recent ones, his last 3, which we're going to go, is coming off of his win against Terrell, which I've been butchering his last name for quite a bit of time, so I apologize. I will not attempt to say it again. And, of course, he's coming off of the TKO victory over Tony Harrison and the first round knockout of Carlos Ocampo. Now, of course, if you look, at the last 3 wins, Brian Mendoza has a little bit better wins over, Tim Tszyu. But then again, that doesn't mean a lot. It does mean a little bit, but it doesn't mean who's really going to win. Because Tony Harrison is basically Jason Rosario for Tim Tszyu. 4 losses, all 4 losses coming by way of knockout. Of course, that being against Jermell Charlo, Jared Hurd, Willie Nelson. So, basically exactly like Jason Rosario. One, weird opponent, long before he ever fought. And then 3 great opponents, or 2 great opponents. And, of course, Tim Tszyu is the latest one. And the last one against Carlos Ocampo, which, is a great win, don't get me wrong. But Ocampo already lost to Fundora, which Mendoza knocked out, obviously. And he got knocked out in round 1 against Earl Spence at 147. So, him bragging about knocking out Ocampo faster than Jermell Charles' boy is weird because you're 1 pound, or you're 7 pounds heavier. So, whatever. But, of course, can Mendoza capture lightning in a bottle a 3rd time? Well, of course, if he captured lightning in a bottle a 3rd time, it was in fact not lightning in a bottle because he obviously is good enough. And Tim Tszyu will finally prove that he does deserve the WBO World Championship because his last 3 opponents, not that good. And of course, does Brian Mendoza have a chance? Of course he does. He literally is coming off of 2 upsets against great opponents. Okay, maybe not Jason Rosario anymore, but definitely Fundora. And of course, can he do it against Tim Tszyu? Yes, because Tim Tszyu has quite a little bit of flaws. What is that coming in? He does not know how to come in correctly. He got dropped by Terrell in round 1, which, don't get me wrong, that was most likely a flash knockdown. And he went on to dominate. But then again, one of the refs had it 114, 113. Obviously, way closer than most people probably thought. But then again, the person he fought does not have that much of a knockout ratio. He has a 50% knockout ratio, which was obviously enough to knock down Tim Tszyu, but it definitely wasn't enough to keep him off of him, right? And Tony Harrison has not fought in like 2 years, and then came back to fight Tim Tszyu. So, they even had this one a little bit close. But that's because the early rounds was dictated by Tony Harrison's jab, just like how he did with Charlo. Difference is, if you look at the highlights with Tim Tszyu and Tony Harrison and Jermell Charlo and Tony Harrison's jab is like 10 times better against Charlo than it was against Tszyu. Don't get me wrong, it was still good enough to keep catching Tim Tszyu, coming in, but with nothing coming after it, or really anything, Tim Tszyu just basically just had to wait his turn. And he did, and he knocked him out. Of course, Carlos Ocampo, which he caught him quick to the temple and then obviously ruined his legs and then knocked him out. Do I think it's going to be a close fight? It is going to be a close fight. Because it's a race against the clock. Brian Mendoza will have to figure out how to catch Tim Tszyu, not only with a strong shot, but a strong enough shot to knock out Tim Tszyu, just like he did Rosario and Fundora. Can he do it? He could. Difference is, I think Tim Tszyu knows that. I think Tim Tszyu knows that Mendoza is basically just going to be waiting for an opening to come and play defensive most of the time. And Tim Tszyu will have to try to crack the shell before Mendoza cracks him. And, of course, the favorite is, of course, Tim Tszyu, and rightfully so. He is young. He has power in his hands. And he's quick. But this could be an interesting fight. It could go decision. But is it? It most likely won't. I think it'll be 8th round stoppage against Mendoza. I think Tim Tszyu is going to knock out Mendoza. But Mendoza has shocked the world twice. Can he do it a third time? He could. Like I said, Tim Tszyu kind of gets caught quite a bit coming in, and if Mendoza can capitalize off of that, he could 100% get another upset victory, therefore becoming a world champion. But that means we either have to say that Mendoza was great all along, and those were in fact not upsets. Okay, they were upsets still, but or maybe his luck has ran out. But to be honest, I think Tim Tszyu solidifies his place at the top of super welterweight against a 8-round TKO against Brian Mendoza. I like Brian Mendoza. He has a great chance of winning. But I think Tim Tszyu is too fast and too strong for Mendoza to really find a way to place a shot. Because Rosario and Fundora, don't get me wrong, they were good fighters. But they did not have, I don't think, as much power as Tim Tszyu. Because don't get me wrong, Fundora's uppercuts were doing real damage to Mendoza. But I would assume Tim Tszyu's straight punches are way more powerful than Fundora's uppercuts. So, I got Tim Tszyu 8th round knockout. But hey, shock the world a third time? Why not? Anyways, hope you enjoyed this video. The next video will, of course, be the October 21st bout. Alexis Rocha and his opponent. Unfortunately, I forgot his name. But anyways, like I said, hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.
You keep drop bombs on me. Boom! 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 Chill. Shove.